narrow path. I ain't saying I got the answers, but
you cold.
some questions need to be asked. You feel me?
This ain't a trend, this ain't a wave.
It's not a wave. We just want to do what's right in the Father's eyes. He gave us a path, and it's through his son. Let's get it.
All of the prophets wanted to see it. We've been reading this for years, now we here.
In times,
Back against the wall, and if we don't unify, will we ever persevere?
tell the truth.
This our heritage, this ain't a trend, this ain't a wave. We applying pressure and they hope we go away. Watch and pray, this the narrow path and it's only one way, the Savior. It's getting clearer, the end is nearer. Don't like it, you finna hear it. Don't waver, stay in the spirit. Be blameless at his appearance and pray without interference. The Savior is interceding, it's feeling like it's the season to pray. You get to Jerusalem, close all the breaches like during the time of David. He got a plan for his people. A time of trouble that the world has never seen. 5 smooth stones in front of the Nephilim. Love your brother, he have a dream, let him tell a dream. Never despise prophecy, might have a word for me. Abba said he would never leave and he was always there for me. So I'ma spit the truth into the end. Let your light shine, if you hide it, will they ever see? Will the people repent if you never speak? The blood is off of my hands, cause at the end of the day, I went as hard as I can.
Shalom to all the Jews and Gentiles alike, sending a strong shalom to the children of light, the star seeds. Namaste to all. Y'all already know what the deal is. All praises to the Most High. All praises to 𝐁𝐸𝐿. All praises to Yahuwah 𝐻𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐻 through the Holy Shekinah. Acknowledgement to our big brother, Yahushua HaMashiach, 𝐷𝐢𝐻𝐸𝐴𝐵, Matzah the Lamb, Emmanuel, Yesiah the Messiah, Yahusha, the Lion from the tribe of Judah, the one they call Jesus Christ. So today, we're going to be talking more on the spiritual science of this world that we live in. So of course, we're going to be going into the keys. And we're going to get more clarity on how things go over there or in space. So let's go to key 309, page 426, verse 12. The physical ascension to new levels of galactic and interstellar experience is first preceded by an appraisal made by the higher evolution, the higher intelligences, of a complete round of biogenesis. Biogenesis is speaking on the reincarnation. So, a complete round of reincarnation experienced by several planetary models, speaking on multiple reincarnations. This is done through sophisticated high-speed data transfer systems controlled by spacecraft. When technology is detected as having a solid state properties governing life functions associated with cells, cellular subunits, and cellular products, a light signal from the vehicle screens the technology to see whether it is in harmony with the action potential of the surrounding planetary environments or whether it is a technological cancer outbreeding natural life forms. In most instances, these spacecrafts or thinking computers, measuring everything from metazoan stages of growth to complex brain cluster intelligences on the edge of a galactic disk. In more advanced stages, they report on the progress of the programs used in the various biological houses. determining what physical beings can connect with the higher space brotherhoods. This connection allows for complex biological changes involving critical decisions of overlapping spectral lines and physical gradations. So we're about to find out how these things called the chronomonitors, they basically scan or like measure or gauge a species. All right. Therefore, before this can be done, the brotherhoods who are connected with the seraphim must consult the Omega Minus program from the treasury of thought forms housed in companion chronomonitors. The chronomonitors in turn probe/qualify the species by reading pyramidal maser grids on planets. These grids collect and store information on biological subsystems, biomes, ecosystems, geological evolutionary cycles, and make use of noise low pressures moving through planets to collect data on all physical laws pertaining to the brain clusters. This information is interpreted and transmitted to the co-creators behind given super galaxies, local universes, and interdimensional universes. So the chronomonitors basically gauge the consciousness level of a species or a planet. So let's get some more clarity on these chronomonitors, shall we? We're about to go to key 104. This is page 34, verse 9. Enoch explained how the Brotherhood of Light established pyramids on certain planets in the solar system in relationship to Saturn. The key to the planetary table and density levels of other forms of intelligence operating with our solar system, these pyramids are built in grid formation and are connected to chronomonitors, which measure the vibratory levels of consciousness on a given planet in units of 1,000 years. So there are chronomonitors actually, in fact, on Mars. And the planets that they say are like gassy or like spiritual planets. Okay? So this is speaking on the spiritual science of all of this. Verse 10. They determine when successive consciousness worlds can accept physical extraterrestrial guides, which nurture God level 0 growth to God level 1 status, thus completing the pyramids at God level 1 status. This growth can occur many times, using the planetary sphere to evolve many species for existence in innumerable worlds. Let's go to verse 15. The grids collect knowledge about the complete range of subsystems, biomes, ecosystems, geological and evolutionary information, knowledge of energy working through all manifestations of physical form. For example, the grids measure energy as order and disorder transmitted through crystal structure and sunlight, and calculate all astronomic forces passing through the interplanetary crystalline network. And as you can see here on this page, there are pyramids here on Mars. And the chronomonitors are in these pyramids. Okay, so it was measuring that consciousness level on that planet. So that goes to show that there was actually life on Mars. But another thing that we got to understand is that these Gentiles that sit up here and say, oh, we going to Mars and we doing this and we doing that. Nah, because remember, they cannot leave this place, right? Without the Shekinah and I think of the Ophanim, they can't get out of here. All right? So, it's interesting how all this is set up. So let's go and talk about these brain clusters, because we saw that word pop up a few times. I think about like twice, I think. So let's try to see what the brain clusters are. Key 214, page 297, verse 20. These thought forms of the brotherhood are projected through a multiple tracing of light, establishing a network of light to connect one pyramidal center to other pyramidal centers. These centers comprise a giant brain cluster, and thus, by harnessing giant brain clusters which house many galactic intelligences, the physical higher evolutionary intelligence is able to operate a universal communications network. Okay, so let's try to see what this looks like here, and it's on this page on 299 in this book. And as you can see in this photo, there's a pyramid in the middle, and it's sending off a signal, and there are other pyramids being receptive to that signal, and they're basically replicating what the middle pyramid is doing. So basically, it's basically sending information. Okay, just to simplify it, because I know I know sometimes this book can kind of get confusing. You feel me? You feel me? All right, let's go to verse 29. By recruiting the human race through its brain cluster, in conjunction with other levels of physical and overself reality, the expanding brain pyramid can be moved up an entire level on the God scale within the cosmic pyramid of the galaxy. All right, so let's go back to the chronomonitors real quick. Back to key 309, verse 17. The chronomonitors, in turn, probe/qualify the species by reading pyramidal maser grids on planets. These grids collect and store information on biological subsystems, biomes, ecosystems, geological evolutionary cycles, and make use of noise-low pressures moving through planets to collect data on all physical laws pertaining to the brain clusters. This information is interpreted and transmitted to the co-creators, aka the higher intelligences, behind given super galaxies, local universes, and interdimensional universes. So the higher intelligences, with their chronomonitors, can gauge and probe and see what the conscious level is at on this earth, right? So they know if you if you just so far gone or not, right? Because they're basically just monitoring your consciousness level. I mean, it's in the word chrono monitor. Okay, they are monitoring the conscious level of the species or the planet. Okay, so let's go off and talk about the in space. Let's go to key 216, verse 36. All right. The higher evolution uses what is called in space, the spatial regions just on the other side of our light threshold for communication. Accordingly, our radio physicists must do the same in working with universal communications operating in our planetary space by the fluctuations in the field of light. Therefore, in-space reality is used by higher intelligence to move within our biosphere, just on the other side of the curtain of our common light, and must be experienced by the modulation of mental signals through crystals, which produce an interface between extraterrestrial intelligence in our own in-space environment of consciousness, i.e., looking inward for the signals. A phased array of radio telescopic sensors, which would be able to sense change rates between 1,000 and several thousand rate units per second would not be able to communicate with higher evolutionary movement without the proper in-space relationship. The higher evolution sometimes screens the appearances of its vehicle movements with a light grid to avoid detection. Here, avoiding detection means regulation. The regulation of higher evolutionary thought waves, which could influence other spatial levels of intelligence through an interstellar medium. This is why the keys are already in the chambers of the Earth. The higher evolution will often deliberately disguise its satellite vehicle or star with a light cover of neutral emissions so as to remain undetectable from the components of sophisticated gamma rays, X-ray, ultraviolet, and infrared radiation and radio wave transmission coming in from other galactic civilizations investigating new life zones in unprotected galactic regions. So let's get the definition for in space, okay? Just in case if someone was confused, all right? But the in space is used by the higher intelligences to move within our biosphere, okay? But let's get the definition though, okay? So the definition for in space: the spatial regions just on the other side of our light threshold, which can be used for communication with higher intelligence, rather than work with deep space. Enoch said, "There exists a space built into space that man can use to work with higher intelligence for both terrestrial and extraterrestrial operations." So in summary, the higher intelligences, the higher evolution, all right, they use the chronomonitors, the in space, the brain thrusters, all that jazz to do what they gotta do, okay? To sum it up, all right? And if you're still kind of confused, hey, all I can say is definitely, if you eat meat, lay off the meat. I'm telling you, if you lay off the meat, you can definitely get some better downloads, all right? So now let's talk about the biosatellites. So let's get the definition for biosatellites before we jump in, all right? So definition for biosatellites: a living vehicle of space architecture which can repair itself in the course of time travel and is used for consciousness transposition and planting colonizing activities within the intergalactic regions served by the higher evolution. Now let's go back to key 309, verse 18. When species biosignals indicate severe distress/disaster, a message signal of deliverance is sent out from the chronomonitor, which demonstrates characteristics of a control system with identifiable input/output transducer mechanisms. When the message is received, the biosatellites, which are stationed in different spectral regions, help the physical species move from place to place in the universe to avoid dying as their biological houses wear out. Depending on the number of different types of intelligence and what the intelligences may require for the next cycle of growth, acquaintance with a parallel physical system for transfer of data, acquaintance with an extraterrestrial or extragalactic source, direct work or existence in other dimensional realities, the thinking chronomonitor assesses the needs of a planetary system and either produces alterations in the functions controlled by the system or relays pertinent information to hierarchical channels. Behind the biosatellites and chronomonitors are levels of physical extraterrestrial beings who are continually qualifying for service in the seraphim ranks of biosatellite worlds, by the way they supervise the consciousness of planetary societies. When galactic emergencies arise, a data transmission system capable of sensing trauma and initiating and controlling the repair process may call forth biosatellites, which are used to relieve the various planets of overcrowding, increasing pollution, planetary wars, and energy shortages connected with programs of biological failure. So behind those biosatellites are the higher intelligences. Verse 23, at this time the biosatellites working with the Brotherhood of Light in the F8 to K2 spectral range are being prepared to deliver man from his own path of destruction and from the negative commands that are issuing from independent intelligences not serving the office of Christ. That's talking about them fallen angels. But let's try to get some clarity on what the office of Christ is. The redemptive office of divine light, encompassing the work of the 144,000 ascended masters, working with Yahuwah and Michael through Jesus the Christ for the purification of this fallen universe. This includes all of the ascended masters who work for the liberation of humanity throughout the world in all eons of time. So what we got to understand here is Christ is just not a person, okay? It is your higher self. So the office of Christ are all of the ascended masters. Let's go back to the keys. Verse 23, at this time, the biosatellites working with the Brotherhood of Light in the F8 to K2 spectral range are being prepared to deliver man from his own path of destruction and from the negative commands that are issuing from independent intelligences not serving the office of the Christ. These intelligences often operate as poachers, violating man's free will. These negative brotherhoods, under the control of the angelic princes, 𝐁𝐨𝐬𝐬 𝐔𝐬𝐝, and negative angelic commanders, have filled our area of the local universe with non-Adamic intelligence, having an interior brain, paired appendages with both robot and non-robot guides. Alright, so that's speaking on the fallen angels, alright, and their grotesque beings, because we did a video on the grotesque beings, and if you watch it, you'll find out that these grotesque beings are actually here. Verse 25, events associated with the landing of negative biosatellites and the war between the non-Adamic space intelligences and the brotherhoods using positive biosatellites under the command of Michael will be preceded by the astronomical signposts, vehicle squadrons stationed over important cities of the world will be seen, motivating humanity to seek out spiritual answers to life. Global communications throughout the planet will be interrupted. The light workers will begin to use telethought communication. Orion will be recognized as the gateway connecting the activities of the constellations in our galaxy with those of the greater Father Universe, and there will be a new unity of planetary science and celestial spiritual truth. So sometimes when I be going on social media, I be seeing some of these reels, some of these videos of people, you know, looking at these chariots in the sky, looking at these crafts, and the first thing that they be saying is Project Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam. It ain't real, it ain't real. You know, the government's just fooling with y'all. Is the government just fooling with y'all? See, and that's where the issue is, right? Whatever the Gentiles say, you go the opposite direction, because they think they're the only ones in this world. They're the only ones in this galaxy, right? There ain't nothing else out there. But when you get knowledge and understanding here in the keys, the whole thing changes, because you know who's who, you know what's what, right? You start to understand what you be seeing in them skies, right? And that excuse and that whole defense mechanism of Project Bluebeam always comes up. It always comes up. And who do you think gave them that quote unquote technology? right? Who gave them that technology? It was a fallen angel. It was a fallen masters of light. All right, we talked about this in the grotesque beings video. All right, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. Verse 26. According to Metatron, large biosatellites up to 50 miles in length and 12 miles in diameter will come to our planet. Pause. So when you see something like that, is that going to be Project Bluebeam? Is that going to be Project Bluebeam? According to Metatron, large biosatellites up to 50 miles in length and 12 miles in diameter will come to our planet. They will house the millions of immigrants that will proceed to other physical planets. Their amenities include crystallized environments, which can change the atmosphere to suit the physical occupants. Some biosatellites contain whole living environments that will take the place of planetary environments that the occupants are being removed from. So this is something straight out of Star Trek, okay? Because I'm telling you, it's really important to know who you are in these last days. The children of light got to know who they are in these last days, or they gonna get tripped up and not know what the heck going on. This is why you cannot be operating in that ego consciousness. That's why you need to take away that whole mindset of you being this flesh. And if you want to still identify with the flesh, then you're not gonna be able to move on. You're not gonna understand, overstand, and understand what's going on. And these movies, they put it in your face all the time. You look at Eternals, right? You look at all these sci-fi movies. You know, it's telling you. It's telling you everything. Independence Day is telling you everything that you need to know. All right, so let's go to verse 28. The physical biosatellites use specialized fields of magnetohydrodynamics to move them into a geosynchronous orbit within a given solar system. Here, multiple planets can be attended to and instructed simultaneously by the biosatellites by modulating multiple radiation belts in direct relationship to multiple south poles on the biosatellite. A special orbital vibration is created, which is used to maintain the biosatellite's operations with respect to the planet. So a lot of science is going on here, especially in this verse right here. But that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. You learned something new. And I say shalom and stay strong.